The United States Navy SEALs are one of the most elite and respected special operations forces in the world. But how did they come to be? What is the origin story of this legendary force? The history of the Navy SEALs is a fascinating journey that stretches from World War II to the present day, shaped by the needs of warfare, the evolution of military tactics, and the indomitable spirit of the men who serve in their ranks. In this video, we will explore the formation, evolution, and key moments in the history of the US Navy SEALs. To understand the roots of the Navy SEALs, we need to go back to World War II. The seeds of the modern-day Navy SEALs were planted during this global conflict when the US military faced the challenge of amphibious assaults against fortified positions. The traditional military forces at the time were not adequately prepared for the unique obstacles of beach landings and underwater hazards. As the Allies planned major amphibious operations in Europe and the Pacific, it became clear that specialized forces were needed to clear obstacles, gather intelligence, and conduct sabotage missions in coastal areas. In response, the Navy established the Underwater Demolition Teams, UDTs, often considered the direct predecessors of the SEALs. These units were initially formed in 1943, during preparations for the invasion of Normandy, but they also played key roles in the Pacific theater. The UDTs were tasked with dangerous missions, including the reconnaissance of landing beaches, clearing obstacles like mines and underwater barriers, and supporting amphibious landings by ensuring safe passage for the invading forces. The UDTs conducted some of the most perilous operations of World War II, using demolition charges to remove obstacles and paving the way for assault troops. They worked closely with the Marines and Army, ensuring that amphibious assaults were successful in places like the Marshall Islands, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. Their courage, skills, and innovative tactics laid the foundation for what would eventually become the Navy SEALs. After World War II, the UDTs continued to exist, though their role in the peacetime Navy was more limited. However, the Cold War soon brought new challenges that would lead to the formation of the Navy SEALs. During the 1950s and early 1960s, the geopolitical landscape was dominated by tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. This period saw the rise of unconventional warfare, including guerrilla tactics, sabotage, and counterinsurgency operations. The US military recognized that it needed specialized forces capable of operating in environments where traditional military forces might struggle. President John F. Kennedy, a strong advocate of special operations forces, believed that the US needed elite units that could perform clandestine and covert operations. In a speech to Congress in 1961, Kennedy emphasized the importance of flexible response and the need to build up America's unconventional warfare capabilities. His administration sought to create units that could handle the growing threats posed by insurgencies and irregular warfare, particularly in regions like Southeast Asia. In response to this need, on January 1, 1962, the US Navy officially established the SEALs, Sea, Air, and Land teams. These teams were created by combining elements from the existing underwater demolition teams and other specialized Navy units. The SEALs were designed to conduct unconventional warfare, including direct action, reconnaissance, sabotage, and counterinsurgency operations. They were trained to operate in a variety of environments, from jungles to deserts to the open ocean. The SEALs were immediately thrust into action as the US became more deeply involved in the conflict in Vietnam. SEALs conducted covert missions along rivers and coastlines, often working in small, highly mobile units. They were known for their stealth, versatility, and ability to adapt to the complexities of guerrilla warfare. This era cemented their reputation as a fearsome and effective force. The Vietnam War proved to be a crucial chapter in the history of the Navy SEALs. During this conflict, SEALs honed their tactics and developed a reputation for their unconventional and highly effective warfare methods. Their operations primarily focused on riverine and jungle warfare, as they were deployed to South Vietnam's Mekong Delta, a vast network of rivers and canals that was a key battleground for both US and Viet Cong forces. One of the SEALs' primary missions during Vietnam was to conduct raids, ambushes, and intelligence-gathering missions. They often operated in small teams, sometimes as few as 4 or 5 men, deep behind enemy lines. Using their expertise in stealth and camouflage, SEALs would infiltrate Viet Cong-controlled areas, carry out their missions, and exfiltrate without leaving a trace. Their ability to remain undetected in hostile territory became legendary. SEALs also played a major role in the Phoenix program, a controversial initiative aimed at dismantling the Viet Cong's political and military infrastructure through targeted assassinations, capture, and interrogation of key personnel. Although the program was effective in disrupting the Viet Cong, it remains a subject of debate due to its brutal methods and ethical implications. The Vietnam War solidified the SEALs' reputation as elite warriors. The terrain of Vietnam, dense jungles, murky rivers, and treacherous coastlines, was the perfect testing ground for their capabilities. They earned the nickname "Men with Green Faces" due to the camouflage face paint they used during their night operations. By the end of the war, the Navy SEALs had established themselves as one of the most versatile and deadly special operations forces in the U.S. military. After the Vietnam War, the Navy SEALs remained an essential part of the U.S. military's special operations community. However, the 1970s and early 1980s were a time of reassessment and evolution for the SEALs. The military had learned valuable lessons about the changing nature of warfare, and special operations forces were increasingly seen as a key component of U.S. national security. During this period, SEAL teams were involved in a number of smaller-scale conflicts and covert operations. One of the most notable events was Operation Urgent Fury in 1983, when U.S. forces invaded the Caribbean island of Grenada to oust a Marxist regime. SEALs were tasked with securing key objectives, including rescuing American students and neutralizing coastal defenses. Although the operation had its challenges, it demonstrated the continued importance of having specialized forces that could respond quickly to crises around the world. In 1980, the failure of Operation Eagle Claw, an attempted rescue of American hostages in Iran, led to a renewed focus on improving the capabilities of special operations forces. This mission, carried out by Delta Force and other units, ended in disaster when mechanical issues and poor coordination resulted in the loss of 8 U.S. servicemen. The failure underscored the need for better planning, coordination, and training for special operations missions. As a result of these lessons, the U.S. government established the United States Special Operations Command, SOCOM, in 1987, a unified command structure that oversaw all special operations forces, including the SEALs. This move allowed for better coordination and resourcing of special operations, ensuring that units like the SEALs were always prepared for the missions ahead. The 1990s brought new challenges and opportunities for the Navy SEALs, as they became involved in major conflicts like the Gulf War and a variety of humanitarian and peacekeeping missions. During Operation Desert Storm in 1991, SEAL teams played a critical role in the US-led coalition's efforts to liberate Kuwait from Iraqi occupation. SEALs conducted a number of reconnaissance and direct action missions, often operating behind enemy lines to gather intelligence, disable Iraqi defenses, and support amphibious landings. In one notable operation, SEALs set off explosive charges along Kuwait's coastline, simulating a large-scale amphibious invasion. This ruse successfully diverted Iraqi forces from the coalition's main attack, contributing to the overall success of the campaign. Throughout the 1990s, SEALs were also deployed to various conflict zones, including Somalia and the Balkans. In Somalia, they participated in the infamous Battle of Mogadishu, where U.S. forces clashed with Somali militia fighters during an attempt to capture warlord Mohammed Farah Aidid. SEALs provided critical support in urban combat operations and rescue efforts during this intense and chaotic battle, which later became the basis for the book and film, Black Hawk Down. In the Balkans, SEALs were involved in peacekeeping missions and humanitarian operations during the Yugoslav wars. They helped conduct reconnaissance and direct action missions, working closely with NATO forces to stabilize the region and protect civilians caught in the crossfire. The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, marked a new era for the Navy SEALs and the broader U.S. military. In the wake of the attacks, the U.S. launched the War on Terror, a global campaign against terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and their state supporters. The SEALs were once again thrust into the forefront of this fight, playing a critical role in counterterrorism and counterinsurgency operations across the globe. One of the first major operations in this new era came in October 2001, when SEALs were deployed to Afghanistan as part of Operation Enduring Freedom. Their mission was to help overthrow the Taliban regime and dismantle Al-Qaeda's terrorist network. SEALs conducted a variety of missions in Afghanistan, from reconnaissance and intelligence gathering to direct action raids against high-value targets. They also worked closely with Afghan militias, providing training and support to help them fight the Taliban. One of the most famous SEAL operations of the War on Terror occurred in 2011, when SEAL Team 6, also known as DEVGRU, Naval Special Warfare Development Group, conducted a raid on a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Their target was none other than Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks. The operation, codenamed Operation Neptune Spear, was a stunning success. SEALs infiltrated bin Laden's compound, killed him in a brief firefight, and exfiltrated without any American casualties. This mission cemented the SEALs' reputation as one of the most formidable and capable special operations forces in the world. In addition to their work in Afghanistan and Pakistan, SEALs were heavily involved in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom. They conducted raids on insurgent strongholds, targeted terrorist leaders, and provided critical support to U.S. and coalition forces throughout the campaign. Today, the U.S. Navy SEALs continue to operate in some of the most dangerous and complex environments around the world. They remain at the tip of the spear in America's global military efforts, conducting counterterrorism operations, hostage rescues, and direct action missions wherever they are needed. Their motto, "The only easy day was yesterday," reflects the intense commitment and discipline required to be part of this elite unit. The history of the Navy SEALs is one of evolution, adaptation, and unwavering dedication to mission success. From their humble beginnings as World War II-era demolition teams to their modern-day status as the vanguard of U.S. special operations, the SEALs have earned their place in military history through bravery, skill, and sacrifice. As warfare continues to evolve, the SEALs will undoubtedly remain a key asset in defending the United States and protecting freedom around the world. The legacy of the Navy SEALs is not just about their past accomplishments, but about their ongoing mission to serve their country, no matter the cost or the challenge.